honest.
I'll be very blunt over here. I will not mince my words. This is the case of the century. It is overwhelming. The evil, the organized, coordinated evil that permeates all the levels of this case is mind-boggling. But I'll be very blunt. Our determination, when I say our, the family and the legal team, to get to the bottom, in spite of everyone and everything, the resolve is much, much stronger than it was a week ago, than it was a year ago, than it was 2 years ago. And we will leave no stone unturned. We will leave no stone unturned. Not Joseph Muscat, who in 2017 said he will leave no stone unturned, and now we know, the public knows, because we have known what is coming out from the testimony in court. We have been carrying inside for months on end.
Absolutely,
but we couldn't talk.
Now you can
and
talk
I can
about
tell you,
it because it is on the public domain.
And we can, with a sense of responsibility, tell the viewers, you ain't seen nothing yet. Mm-hmm. What will come out in the short term will shock you even more. Even though what has come out in the last few days, I know and we know that has shocked many people. But we can tell you, there's much more. And when it comes out, you will realize that we were right, that Daphne was right, that the family was right, that civil society is right, that the opposition is right when it says this government is corrupt to the core. And mentioning civil society, something that touched us over the last 48 hours, we listened to recordings, both today and in the last, 3 days, where the criminals involved were heard, and we listened to them saying they were worried because of the protests, because of the street protests being organized. Once it was a particular Thursday, once it was a particular Saturday. So they were taking notice. And what the message is I'm trying to convey is to the people, do not be afraid. Daphne once wrote, even if your voice shakes and you're the only one, don't be afraid. And the criminals do take notice. And we have managed to get rid of the most corrupt prime minister in the world last December. You know what happened and why that happened. And we will get to the bottom of this. And I will not allow anyone to in any way diminish our resolve, our courage, our will. We have, I know we're not underestimating the entity of the case, but we will not stop until the full truth comes out.
Thank you very much. We're going to carry on. We've got to go for a short commercial break. Stay with us. I'm with the Shadow Minister of Justice, Dr. Jason Azzopardi, and the Honourable Therese Comodini Cachia.